Hello and welcome back to Planet Nibiru, where anything is possible. Today's episode brought to you by Entertainment Life Networks. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment to be entered into our drawing for a free Planet Nibiru t-shirt or hoodie of your choice and a $100 Amazon gift card. Today, we will be talking about everybody's favorite topic, the homunculus. This little guy has become a very popular staple here on the channel and has generated more controversy over the ages than you can shake a proverbial stick at, for reasons ranging from the type of science that it is to the validity of the concept itself. So, in order to properly carry on this series, we will take a look at the humble beginnings of the homunculus in historical literature, alchemical texts, its appearance in the political arena, and we will even explore how it has been connected to the Queen of England and the King of France. Then we will sally forth to more modern times and review its resurgence in pop culture today, ending with its most recent incarnation being the one that we've been studying for the last few months. So let's start at the beginning, with alchemy. Alchemy has long been studied by many scientists, philosophers, and occultists, along with the random common man who has been interested in such things. Many of those who have studied alchemy have been motivated by greed, most I would venture to say, but if we look at its roots, it seems to have a bit of a darker past. In medieval England, it was known as the sacred arts, while in Germany, it was known as the black arts. Often illustrated as a tiny man, the homunculus appears first by name in the alchemical writings attributed to Paracelsus in the year 1532. Other writings that refer to the creation of human life in a laboratory-like setting date as far back as 300 AD, according to the renowned psychologist Carl Jung. In his commentary, Jung equates the homunculus with the philosopher's stone and the inner man, a sort of parallel with Christ, or the spirit or soul that lives within all of us, thereby giving the homunculus an existential existence if nothing else. So with regards to age, we can safely say that the concept of the homunculus dates back to about 300 years after the death of Christ. It should be noted that the method of creation that Paracelsus used was somewhat different than that of more modern attempts. But while the recipe, for lack of a better word, varies somewhat, the end result has seemingly remained the same. Paracelsus' recipe calls for sealing a man's sperm inside a glass jar and burying it in horse manure for 40 days. Horse manure creates heat as it disintegrates. If you have ever seen a compost heap on a farm, you will notice that on cool mornings, the pile of compost is steaming. That's because it is generating heat as it decomposes. The heat from the manure incubates the jar with the sperm in it and allows the homunculus to grow. Once life is detected, the homunculus should resemble a small man, though transparent and not fully formed. The homunculus must be fed human blood daily for up to 40 weeks, when it is said it should be fully formed and a small-scale human being, according to the writings of Paracelsus. Other recipes call for similar ingredients and scenarios. All state that the outcome as being about the same. All state that the end result is a little man of sorts. The details vary, but the general result remains. The homunculus continued to appear in alchemical writings throughout medieval times, but most notably, it has also worked its way into the history books as well. In the year 897 AD, Pope Stephen VI had the body of a previous pope, Pope Formosus, exhumed to stand trial for crimes against God. The basis for these claims, which the Pope did indeed stand trial for, was that Pope Formosus had created small beings in jars, including one that had abnormally large eyes and was intelligent. As the disinterred Pope sat through his trial, his cadaver was dressed in fresh new papal robes and vestments. Rudimentary makeup and jewelry also adorned the body as he sat mute and long dead at his own trial. Formosus was found guilty, and the Roman judicial practice called damnation memoria was applied to him. All of his papal orders, decrees, acts, and measures were annulled. The papal vestments were torn from his body, and the 3 fingers from his right hand that he used in consecrations were cut off, and his corpse was thrown into the river Tiber, though it was later retrieved by a monk. Though he was convicted posthumously and found unworthy of the pontificate, after the death of his accuser, Pope Stephen VI, any new trials of the dead were outlawed by the Church. Church leaders at the time assumed that this meant that older trials were to be annulled, so the body of Pope Formosus was reinterred at St. Peter's Basilica. Now, one might think that this already strange story might end here, yet it does not. Years later, Pope Sergius ruled that the verdict from the first trial was just, and once again had the body of Pope Formosus exhumed, tried, found guilty, and beheaded. The body was once again thrown into the river Tiber. This time it was not recovered. In the year 1588, John Dee, an English mathematician, astronomer, astrologer, occult philosopher, and physician, was appointed to royal physician to Queen Elizabeth I. It is said that Mr. Dee created several homunculi, but they could not live long outside the glass that they were formed in. Although several did live long enough to spy on conversations that were held in the castle and report back to Mr. Dee on what was heard. In philosophical writings in the 1600s, it was postulated that the ultimate goal of alchemy is not the transmutation of base metals to gold. Rather, it is the creation of human life. In the year 1654, Dr. Pierre Boreal became royal physician to King Louis XIV, and historical accounts say that he created a homunculus from a blood sample alone. It was also said that when the homunculus reached maturity, it was exhibited before the full court of King Louis, and it cast glowing red lights from its eyes. In the year 1775, Count Johann Ferdinand von Kufstein, together with known Rosicrucian Abbé Geloni, an Italian cleric, are reported to have created 10 homunculi with the ability to foresee the future. These 10 little men were supposedly kept in glass containers inside the Masonic Lodge of von Kufstein and Geloni in Vienna, Austria. According to records from the time, each one was about a foot tall, and they had distinct personalities, and were thus named by the Count as the Devil, the Angel, the King, the Queen, the Priest, the Nun, the Artist, the Farmhand, the Master, and the Servant. The Count even had small suits of clothes made for each according to their name and their station. Few other local dignitaries were allowed to visit these little men because of their unique ability to foretell the future. By the early 1800s, many advances had been made in crossbreeding animals, and by then, modern genetics research had been founded. Throughout the 1900s, man continued to refine its methods, and today we have test tube babies, children with 3 parents, and children whose parents choose their eye color, hair color, and more. Some of the more interesting and telltale facts that point to the ability of man to create strange creatures and life are the creatures that seem to crop up from time to time. Creatures like the Montauk Monster and other dead bodies that have been found or have washed up that cannot be identified by scientists are becoming more and more common these days. The chupacabra is one such animal that has literally gone from folklore to fact. 20 years ago, they occupied the same place in the human psyche as Bigfoot, but now they are a verified fact. We still only have speculative answers on what they are and how they came to be, but we do know they are there. Crossbreeding and genetic research are fast becoming a new frontier in science, and home scientists are sometimes on that cutting edge. The term homunculi or homunculus is used in certain modern medical disciplines such as psychology and neurology, where the image of a tiny man with large hands, feet, lips, eyes, and genitalia is used to represent the human body as it relates to the sensory system. These body parts have far more sensory nerve endings than other body parts, and they all work together to form the sensory system of the human being. So this illustration is sometimes used to illustrate that concept. In today's popular culture, the cartoon Full Metal Alchemist which is set in a fictional universe in which alchemy is one of the more advanced scientific techniques, uses the term and the concept of the homunculus. The concept behind the homunculus is a recurring theme in literature and film as well. From Frankenstein to Faust, there is no shortage of stories that illustrate the basic concept of the creation of life that almost always goes terribly wrong. Last year's movie Life is a play on the same theme. Though slightly different, the same basic premise illustrates that bad things happen when man plays God. But that is fiction, and the real question here is what would happen if we could create life? Which brings us back to our little friend. Though there have been many fakes out there, all of which range from the silly to outright dumb, we cannot discount this one that we are following. This one seems to be the real deal in many ways. While I cannot say that I know it is absolutely 100% real, I also cannot say it is fake either. While many internet users have seen the video on the YouTube channel called Bill's Channel that shows someone recreating a portion of one of the homunculus videos. But just because somebody can mimic the look and basic movement seen in one video does nothing to refute the rest of the contents that we see in over 15 videos from the alchemist himself. Also, the movement that is recreated on Bill's channel is a very basic, simple movement that could be achieved by anyone with wires or magnets as they used in that video. But when we look at other clips like these, we can see that these movements are far more complex and could never be recreated without highly advanced CGI. Now, I am not saying that I am any type of video guru or anything like that, but the movement that we see here is very much like the movement seen in a squid or a shellfish, for example. It is a contraction along a length of muscle. Not to mention that as we watch videos from Corny, the alchemist, we cannot even see the homunculus moving. But when we speed up the footage, we can clearly see that it is actually moving the whole time. As we illustrate in the time lapse, the homunculus moves slightly with the water, much like seaweed or coral might in the gently moving waters of a bay. If we are to take Bill's channel's word for it, the homunculus is made of clay, and it will not bend that easily. It would not sway in the near-perfect calm of the water in the tank. Clay is fairly stiff and kind of brittle when it's in water, and it would crack, or it would hold a rigid position. It's simply not the best medium for dynamic movement, and it's entirely incapable of the muscle-like movement that we see here. Now, I will admit that in certain shots, the homunculus does seem to look like clay. It does, and I cannot explain why. However, when I take everything into account, I have to say that there is not nearly enough evidence for me to call this a hoax. Could it be? Sure, anything is possible. But either the alchemist has access to and can use very high-level software, and yes, it does have to be very high-level CGI software like Maya or 3D Studio Max and above. After Effects simply won't cut it here. Anyone who says different is welcome to prove it. Show me your version of this type of movement, and I will play it for everyone on the channel and give you the credit you deserve. So it's either very high-end Hollywood level CGI, or it's real. In any event, it's stunning to watch and learn about. With that said, I for one will be watching until I can either confirm that it's a hoax, in which case I will congratulate Corny for a job well done, or until the experiment ends and we get to see what's inside of the creature and hopefully get some more scientists involved in order to learn and understand how this can be done in a lab and how something like this can be beneficial to all mankind. So, I'd love to hear your thoughts on the homunculus throughout history and the fakes that are out there, as well as if you think that this type of movement can really be achieved with magnets and clay. The discussions are always fun and I learn a lot from them. So get in the comment section and let us hear your thoughts on the homunculus. Please like, subscribe, and comment, and be sure to check out Guys Like Us channel for absolutely awesome gadgets, gear, and experiences. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Homunculus in historical literature, alchemical texts, its appearance in the political arena, and we will even explore how it has been connected to the Queen of England and the King of France. Then we will sally forth to more modern times and review its resurgence in pop culture today, ending with its most recent incarnation being the one that we've been studying for the last few months. So let's start at the beginning, with alchemy. Alchemy has long been studied by many scientists, philosophers, Hello and welcome back to Planet Nibiru, where anything is possible. Today's episode brought to you by Entertainment Life Networks. Be sure to like, subscribe, and comment to be entered into our drawing for a free Planet Nibiru, the alchemical writings attributed to Paracelsus in the year 1532. Other writings that refer to the creation of human life in a laboratory-like setting date as far back as 300 AD, according to the renowned psychologist Carl Jung. In his commentary, Jung equates the homunculus with the philosopher's stone and the inner man, a sort of parallel with Christ, or the spirit or soul that lives within all of us. T-shirt or hoodie of your choice, and a $100 Amazon gift card. Today, we will be talking about everybody's favorite topic, the homunculus. This little guy has become a very popular staple here on the channel and has generated more controversy over the ages than you can shake a proverbial stick at, for reasons ranging from the type of science that it is to the validity of the concept itself. So, in order to properly carry on this series, we will take a look at the humble beginnings of the homunculus and occultists, along with the random common man who has been interested in such things. Many of those who have studied alchemy have been motivated by greed, most I would venture to say, but if we look at its roots, it seems to have a bit of a darker past. In medieval England, it was known as the sacred arts, while in Germany, it was known as the black arts. Often illustrated as a tiny man, the homunculus appears first by name in the